So you're not broken, but you're probably disconnected from what truly matters. And until you reconnect with that, you'll keep on repeating the same old patterns in your work, your relationships, and in those behaviors that you know don't really serve you. Now, this video is for the man who wants more out of life, but isn't really sure how to get it. So you could be here for a couple of reasons. Maybe you're wanting to improve your relationships, or maybe it is that you're stuck in some cycles that really aren't helping you. Could be people pleasing, could be numbing out with porn, maybe it's anger or isolation or shutting down. Whatever it is, I've got you. If you stick around till the end of this video, I'm going to share with you a really simple model which will help you get unstuck and actually be able to move towards the things that you want out of life. So it's helped me, it's helped my clients, and I know it's going to help you too. So make sure you stick around for that. But first, why should you actually listen to me? Who am I? Well, my name's Benny Gorell. I'm a men's inner work coach and I'm the founder of A Better Man. So I've got my own story, right? We all do. I've moved through so many things over the years. I've had struggles with relationships, an anxious attachment style that really prevented me from connecting in a healthy way to women. I've had unhealthy relationships to alcohol, to drugs, to sex, to porn, to numbing myself out and trying to avoid feeling the emotions that were underneath. I had anxiety, I had anger, I had all these things. And I've had to really go deep in myself to face those parts of me, to get to know myself on a deep level. And through that, I've learned a thing or two. And I've not only helped myself move from chaos to calm and from reactivity to grounded, authentic expression and leadership, but I've really built a business and a lifestyle around helping other men do that too. So a couple of men here, one is Dean. Dean come to me after a breakup where he kind of lost himself, and we started working together and we were able to help Dean connect in with himself, his values, and what truly matters. And he was able to attract a much more aligned, his most aligned relationship ever. And that's the power of this work. So have a listen to Dean.
I wish I'd done this sooner. I look back on 8-month me and I just think like, fuck, like, sorry, dude. She hadn't seen me in, like 2 or 3 months. And she's just like, you're not the same guy. Just thinking like, I should have been working on myself and doing this sort of stuff years ago. But I guess there's no time like now, really, is there?
And then there's Lewis. So Lewis came to me really indecisive and unsure of himself and his leadership abilities. And since working together, he's actually gone and bought the business of his old boss. So now he's actually running that and leading the team that he used to be a part of. So have a listen to what Louis has to say.
What I will say is a lot of people in my life have seen a lot of change in me, man. I've
Cool.
like noticed it, like, fuck, man, like, you're glowing. And yeah, like my boss, well, Greg, he's like, man, you're like a totally different bloke, So yeah, it's been really good. Honestly, man, like my thoughts, my reactions, like I'm straight and narrow. I'm just fucking, yep, this. Like I'm not even judging or second guessing anymore, man. Like I've never had that before. I'm just straight up.
So if you're ready to do the work now, this is the map. This is the sovereign man map, because when you align the 3 pillars here on the board, it's what's going to help you step into your sovereignty, your self-leadership, and your authority as a man. So after working with men for about 8 years, I've discovered that there are 3 core pillars that every man must align in his life in order to live a life of freedom and fulfillment. Those 3 pillars are self, spirit, and support. So in self, the question that we ask is, who am I? It's like the foundation, base level, right? Who am I? And this is needs, desires, boundaries, hobbies, values, expression, and emotion. And as we go through these, just start to check in with yourself, how connected you feel to these areas in your life. The second pillar is spirit. And the question that you ask here is, why am I here? Right? And this is the mission, meaning, legacy, purpose, vision, a connection to something greater. And this really comes in, especially as men mature and get older. the why am I here question really starts to anchor in and become a prominent kind of thought-provoking question that kind of emanates from somewhere deep within. The third pillar here is support. So the questions we ask, who matters to me and who do I matter to? This is like family, relationships, partner, friends, brotherhood, community, and mentors. Now, all of these pillars feed each other, right? It's more like an interconnected web rather than a straight line. But for this sake, we're going to look at how self feeds spirit and spirit feeds support, and how this really leads into kind of embodying that sovereign man. So if I know who I am, and I was modeled all of these in a healthy way from childhood, then it gets to become an easier question for me to kind of move into why am I here, and to focus on my mission, my meaning, my legacy, right? So if you know who you are and you're connected to all of this, the second part of that is the mission, which is really a natural extension of yourself. If you're disconnected from yourself, this deeper question, it's a little bit harder to access, or the answer is a little bit harder to kind of find, because you might be stuck somewhere else, people pleasing, or stuck in not understanding your needs or what you really want. So the bigger question and the meaning and the mission of how I'm here to serve others, it kind of gets pushed to the wayside. If you're connected to yourself and your spirit and why you're here, then the relationships in your life tend to become a little bit easier, because if you know who you are and what you need, bringing that into a relationship is kind of like the natural evolution of that. But what we find is that it's hard to be in relationship if I'm not in relationship to myself, right? It's hard for somebody else to get to know me if I don't really know myself. So if I'm disconnected from self, very good chance that my relationships are going to suffer and struggle as well. So for you, if you're disconnected somewhere here, there's probably a good chance you're going to feel it down the line. Hopefully that's making sense. What we notice in men when they're disconnected from one or more pillars is that the symptoms start to show up. Now, these really are symptoms because it's not the issue. They're not the issue themselves. They're just pointing to a deeper underlying issue. And the challenge with a lot of self-help is that it tries to address the symptom. And addressing the symptom might work temporarily, but typically the same thing will pop up again, usually worse, or it'll come back in another way. So what we really want to look at is not so much the symptom itself, but what is this a symptom of? And virtually every time we can track this back to a disconnection from self, spirit, or support. The question you want to ask yourself in symptom is, what am I missing? Right? What am I missing? Because that's where your disconnection is. Now, if we were to look at loneliness, for instance, that's a symptom of a disconnection clearly from support, clearly from relationships, right? If someone's lonely, if you're lonely, you might be disconnected from relationships to family, to partner, to friends, to brotherhood, probably to all of these things. That being said, some men actually have quite a solid support network and they still feel lonely. And if that's the case, then what they're usually disconnected from is themselves. And so again, it's hard to feel connected in support if you're disconnected from self. And so a man that is experiencing loneliness is probably disconnected from maybe his own needs, his own hobbies, his own expression as well. And if we were to look at another one here, let's just take people pleasing for an instance. If somebody's people pleasing, then there's a very good chance they're disconnected from their own needs, their own boundaries, their own expression, and probably their own emotion too. And so somebody that's people pleasing, disconnected from self, ends up becoming disconnected from their support because they're just playing a role, right? People pleasing is a role. It's like, I'm just going to do whatever I can to make you happy. So realistically, these people may feel like they know this person, but this person won't feel like they're actually seen or heard because they're not asking for what they want. They're not asking for support. They're not saying no. They're not expressing their boundaries. So the people pleaser is disconnected from self, from probably most of these, and then they're also going to be disconnected from support. Probably a good chance too that if something pops up, they'll also sacrifice their mission or meaning in order to please those around them as well. So hopefully this is making sense. When you're connected to yourself, your spirit and your support, that's what really channels through, gives you this alignment to fully step into your sovereignty as a man, your self-leadership, your self-authority, and helps you really bring your power online. And again, this is not only powerful for helping to relieve some of these symptoms, but it's also just a really great place to start if you want to optimize your life, right? Like things might already be pretty good or okay, but you want to reach that next level. So then it's like optimizing. How do I optimize myself in these areas? And usually you'll find there's probably still one or more that could use some work, right? So that's where you start. Now imagine this. You're grounded, you have clarity, you know what you want, and you're moving toward it. You show up in the world with strength and conviction, and you're respected by the people around you. They're supporting you in your mission, in your vision. People are rallying around you because they want to see you win. Now, this is what happens when you really step into and claim the sovereign man within you. And if you're not feeling that already, just know that that version of you, he's right there. He's not that far away. But in order to fully step into that and claim that, you're going to have to do something, right? You already know this. So my invitation for you is to download the map that's at the bottom of this page. And it's going to help you identify where you've become disconnected, what the patterns are that are playing out, that are kind of fueling this, and what you need to do in order to reconnect and reclaim the parts of you that you've been disconnected from, so that you can really step forth into full alignment and into the energy of the sovereign man. Now, this is a line in the sand moment because you probably already know what happens if you don't do anything. If nothing changes, right? So my invitation for you is to really just be bold, be brave. Take a moment after this video to actually do what needs to be done. Download the map, take a look at it, get to work, and I'll be in touch. Let's go, brother. You've got this. To your growth.